How was Armo last week?
He was awesome.
Good.
He was sitting right there, and he's a charming man.
Yes, he is.
Oh, yeah, he's very good at it.
And he goes slow.
Yeah, the whole time. I mean, he tells you a 1 minute story in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's still the greatest story you've ever heard. Good morning, YouTubers. Toad in a hole. Is that what you say?
How many have you got?
A dozen.
Okay.
Well, it's not an entry.
Well, yeah, one submission of the picture.
Right. It was a contract. We give you a free rub, you send us a picture of what you made. It was a verbal contract. And then you need to send that to Carol, right, Pam? Not necessarily. There may or may not be a grand prize at the end of all of this.
Yeah.
Well, it's sometimes hard to get a response from people when you're just like out of the blue sending something like in the newsletter or something like that. But turns out when you offer a free jar of rub, you get lots of responses.
It was astounding. Carol was hyperventilating. Like I think we had capped it at 100.
We capped it at 100. We went to 200, and then within a day we had 400.
Yeah, she was like, my brain. All right, 9:05. Good, we're on time.
I mean, like, we've already done that 2
I
segments.
know.
Just
Don't
kidding.
know what's up. We missed Tom while he was away.
I know.
I don't think they did. I came back to do the show, and they said, "You're not on the show."
That was hilarious. I'm like, what is he doing here? I thought he was
He materialized out of the vapor.
it was in Scotland.
That reminds me, I have a new humidifier in my basement because it was smelling a little like dank, not
A
moldy, but
dehumidifier.
a dehumidifier.
Yes,
It's not moldy, but it's just
I know, basement-y.
yeah. So I thought, well, I'll try this.
And
I get 3 liters of water every 9 hours, 10 hours
Get out of here.
out of the air.
oh, there's some moisture down there. Well, you're at the side of
I
the
have
hill.
I have the gauge down there. It's not particularly humid down there.
Wait, how do you pick
It's only
up?
60% humidity.
How do you pick up that much water?
It just comes out of the air.
Really?
Try one in your house. It's kind of interesting.
Wow.
But I bought a gauge to go along with it to see like where it was, and if once I turned on the machine, where it goes to.
Right?
Barely moves.
Oh,
This is a mystery of
2%.
science.
yeah. How
But
do
you
you
don't
get?
realize how much water is in the air that we breathe.
Wow, you get
Yeah.
3 liters of water and you don't
Every
have.
10 hours.
He lives in a swimming pool.
Well, no kidding.
No, you could put it on in here and you get the same thing.
Oh, and here we would get so much with all the steam and yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
Oh, interesting. We're surrounded by particles of water, which is what we always
Well, on
say.
the East Coast right now, it's like 100 degrees and 90% humidity.
Oh my God, that's not. I don't miss
So you
that.
think 90% humidity back there and it's not raining,
Yeah.
and it's 60% here. That's why it feels so different, the heat here. compared to there.
I don't even feel the humidity here.
No, you would never know.
No.
Thanks for listening, YouTubers, to our analysis of moisture content in
It was-
the air.
If any of you on YouTube understand humidity and how you draw the water out of the air, that would be very curious.
Send us
a
a chat.
dissertation,
that
and
would be
we
a whole
will,
show.
we will read up. Welcome to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. I'm so happy to be back after my extended term away. And it turns out I wasn't missed at all. Mr. Armandino
Not
Batali
true.
last week sat in admirably and stole the show with his stories. What a joy that man is. I don't know if you got to listen to last week's show, but if you didn't, go podcast it. It's he's awesome.
He's such a beautiful storyteller.
Yeah, he's a beautiful man. You know, in all of his glory, he
Yeah.
is. Now he's getting. I would guess. What do you think? He's close to 90, 85.
Do you know, Terry? I don't.
I don't remember, but it's 80.
It's at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sorry, Armo. I didn't mean to say it like that. But anyway, so if you have a chance, go listen to last week's show. Armandino is a Seattle treasure. We are here. We're going to do 2 hours. We're excited to be here. I'm excited to be back. Chef Thierry.
I'm excited to still be here.
Mhm.
And I thank you for coming back.
Now you know what it felt like while you were gone on
Yeah,
vacation
exactly.
for a month in France. Yeah, exactly.
Big job.
We have peak of the season strawberries. I tried to buy, at the grocery store. I don't need a half a flat of strawberries in my life.
Right.
But at the same time, I bought one thinking that I would do something with it. And 6 days later, they're still sitting on my counter.
Ooh, that's
And-
going to get moldy.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
But so
Vinegar.
I need some ideas of what to
Vinegar.
do with my peak of the
A
season
shrub.
strawberries. I don't love pickled strawberries. I mean, the green ones are kind of interesting because they stay crunchy, but vinegar, I don't know. You mean like make strawberry vinegar? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I wasn't talking
Yeah.
about pickling the strawberry. Once they're
Yeah.
moldy, just
For some reason,
there's not
it's
many
just-
options.
strawberries are dessert for me. I rarely use them outside of the dessert plate.
Uh-huh. No, I get it.
So let's talk about that today. Laura Kleiss is here from The Intentionalists. She joins us to talk about small restaurants that deserve your attention. And I got to say, honestly, success. I mean, the small restaurants are really what are thriving right now in my
Right.
mind. And I know that has been a focus for quite a while, maybe the last 5 years. But we're going to talk to Laura about how that is going. Ice cream, do you need a churning machine?
No.
Really, that's your...
Don't give
your-
away
No.
the segment.
Yeah, no.
I mean, there's
That's
so
right.
many cool ones on the market out
it's
there.
just
They're
an answer.
expensive, and they take up a lot of space.
Correct.
So the question
and,
is,
they're
really,
expensive.
do you need it? Do you need one with like those ones you put the bowl in your freezer and just do it in your KitchenAid? I don't know. I'm curious to see what people think about that. How to make finger licking ribs good in your own oven rather than on the grill? I would just say no. Don't do it.
There goes that segment.
I don't know. Well,
You-
it's an argument. It's a conversation.
Oh yeah,
I'd say it's perfectly
finish
fine.
on the grill.
You like to finish. If you're going to start the grill, I'm going to cook them on the grill. So let's talk about that. Man, we have so many things. Perfect snacking food, handy hand pies. Lastly, we're going to play our Rub with Love Tasty Trivia Challenge, where I fully expect, after being gone for almost a month,
A total win.
to get my butt kicked today, which is, no way to go into the game feeling like you're going to get hurt.
And I'm sure we'll have a great theme this week.
I don't know. Will we?
It's diverse.
Okay. So my taste of the week.
Go ahead.
I think I had this taste the last time I went to Scotland. You'd think I'd come back saying, "Oh my God, haggis is the most wonderful thing that I've ever tasted."
I remember you talking about it. Yes.
Yeah, and that's not the case.
Okay.
Not the most wonderful thing I've ever tasted.
No.
Certainly not as bad as people make it out to be.
Right.
So haggis is kind of like an oatmeal porridge with the innards of a lamb cooked in a lamb belly.
I think I'll have a toast.
So I mean, and it's interesting. It's a national treasure over there, and it's certainly not. It doesn't come across when you eat it as bad as it sounds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
It's like tripe. It's the same thing. It's like
tripe is just bad.
I think that the dish itself in the region itself
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
not as bad as we
I
make it
agree.
to be.
especially when another ethnicity takes over.
Correct.
So, for example, I was in a Thai restaurant in Scotland.
Yeah.
And you'd think in a Thai restaurant you wouldn't have haggis.
Right.
Because it's traditional Scottish food. But no, I had Thai red curry haggis bonbons. So they took small pieces of the lamb stomach, stuffed it, made that innards of the lamb and the oatmeal, mixed it with red curry paste, stuffed it inside the lamb belly, and then breaded it and deep fry it. So I had Thai red curry haggis bonbons.
I like the way you call them bonbons too. That's
Well, that's
pretty
what they
cool.
call them, bonbons.
Sure,
It's
sure.
very popular thing over there. Little bits of haggis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't mean to get off topic, which I've already done, but sticky toffee pudding. OMG. The club that we stay at over there north of Glasgow, oddly enough, makes the best sticky toffee pudding I've ever had. It's a date cake, right?
Right.
We're serving some now down at Seatown because I'm so in love with it. I don't know that ours is as good as theirs, but it's good.
I'm sure you could ask the chef to give you the recipe.
The chef, that's another whole story. He's tired of hearing about this famous Seattle chef that comes to stay at his place. I'll just say that. Anyway, so that's my taste of the week: sticky toffee pudding with a little bit of vanilla ice cream. It's a charming.
I want that.
And what's odd about it? They don't have dates in Scotland.
No.
But it's one of those fruits that traveled.
Sure.
It travels beautifully when it's dried, right? So there you go. What's your taste?
My taste of the week is a beautiful Moroccan dinner at the Corson building last Sunday with a couple of friends. It was so nice. It was correlation between Villa Girarda, Mehdi, and Corson building, the chef there, and the owner. And the dinner was just succulent. The food was, one of my best tests of that dinner was the eggplant tomato dip. At the beginning, they take they roast the eggplant in the fire. They have a wood fire outside, and they make this dip of like tiny, small diced tomato and eggplant. Oh my God, that was so delicious. To me, it's what makes that dish is not just the eggplant and the tomato, is the spice that goes in it. And that's what when you go to a country, we were just talking about the perfect example. You go to a country, any country around the world, and you go, oh my God, that dish and I had there was so delicious. And then you have it here and it doesn't taste as good. And it's the only difference is it's not necessarily the meat or the ingredient, it's the spice. What they put in there, those famous ras el hanout, homemade, made differently, obviously. And then we had a lamb shoulder that was cooked all the way, braised down with saffron. And how often do you braise a meat with saffron? Never. So you're not familiar with that flavor, but when you eat it, you're like, wow, what is that beautiful flavor you have in there? Spices.
So was it all with the Villa Girarda products?
Products and
that the chef used?
Yeah, and also they added some dishes that, just Moroccan dishes, but it was just a beautiful dinner outside, and then the wood fire was outside. They were making the bread. They were making everything in the house. It was so delicious.
Does Matt still own that?
No. I can't, unfortunately, remember the name of the owner, but beautiful couple who owns that place, and they do a fabulous job.
Sounds lovely. I haven't been to the Corson building in 15 years.
Yeah, it was my first time.
Yeah.
And the setting is gorgeous outside. It's just a beautiful
They're
setting.
keeping the garden up.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And
so that's down in Georgetown, by the way. If you've never been there, it's a little hideaway. And the woman who owned it at the time, the building, Dolly, was one of our summer campers here. And we took the whole camp team down and had a beautiful lunch down there.
It's a gorgeous
That's
space.
when Matt owned it.
Yeah.
Up next, it's peak of the season, strawberries. What are we going to do with all these berries? But you better get them while they're here because they're heading out of town. Their peaches are going to take their place pretty quick. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Have you had any local strawberries?
Yes, but like you buy an amount and then you don't go through them. It's so wasteful. So if you have any tips for storage, I think people would benefit from that.
I've made.
Don't say it. Hold on to that. Hold on to that, chef.
No, I was going to say.
No, don't.
I was going to say I've made reservation. Just kidding.
And we're back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show. It's Cairo Radio. We're here weekly, or you can get our podcast. Join us anytime in your kitchen, in your garden, in your car. We are here. Chef,
yet better, Mr. Douglas, you could actually buy a ticket and come to this show live like we have today. All these
lovely
beautiful
folks
audience
that came
we have
today.
here today. Very flattered. Thank you so much for coming this morning. And you too can just go to tomdouglas.com, buy a ticket, and bring your friends. It's a great place to come and have breakfast.
All right. So strawberries, you and Pam in the break were talking about how to preserve them because Pam, like me, it's hard to resist when you see a half a flat or a flat of strawberries. You can't just buy a pint sometimes. You just want to buy the box.
No, because if you buy the pint, you eat half the pint before you get home.
Right.
If you've got that perfect field-ripened one.
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to
and so you buy that. And when I had a child at home, it was fine. I would IQF them, right? So you buy the big flat, you hull them, you cut them whatever size you want, you put them in the freezer, and you individually freeze them, and then put them in a Ziploc, and then you just pull out 10 strawberries if that's what you need for the kids' yogurt shake or,
Well,
or something like that. So that's when I had a kid, I did. Now they sit in the freezer and they get frostbit and never get used because I'm always buying the fresh fruit of the season.
Correct.
So what do you do, chef?
Well, once you put them in the freezer, you take them out and put them in a good, thick sandwich bag so they don't get freezer burn. And then
But they still collect frost. At least
they
in
do
my
collect a
freezer,
little
they
bit,
do,
yeah. But anyway, those are definitely good for smoothies this time of year. You know, if you want to do a smoothie in the morning, instead of having toast, 2 sausages, some bacon, and 3 eggs, you know, you do a nice fruit smoothie, and it's probably a lot healthier for you.
I don't think so. You want me to eat 10 strawberries instead of toast, 2 sausages, and bacon?
Well, strawberries and bananas.
Unlikely.
Strawberries, bananas, and blueberries in the morning are a lot better for you. But anyway, strawberries. So I've done the same thing. I've done half a flat, but when I come home, the first thing I do is process those strawberries because I know I'm not going to get to it just like you do. And the first thing I do is I keep 1 pint of the least ripe on the counter, cover it with a napkin, and then leave it there so the fruit fly don't get around it and nothing gets on it. And also I know that I have at least a day left of life for those strawberries to be ripening. So that's one thing I do with that. And then the other one, I process them, cut them, and I put them in sugar right away and a little bit of lemon juice, and then toss them on the counter and leave them overnight, covered with plastic wrap, and put them in the fridge overnight. The next day, I cook that very slowly, and I have this wonderful big chunk of strawberry jam. And I put that in the fridge, and in the next 2 weeks, I guarantee you, every time I have a piece of toast, a big, thick layer of that strawberry on top.
So the natural pectin in the strawberries is what's kind of thickening things up.
Yeah,
a
and
bit.
the lemon juice, you know, you put a little bit of lemon, and that makes that reaction, and it's just beautiful stuff. And I mean, if you want to get further, you can put it in a jar and seal it and put it away. But it's just so beautiful because it's that flavor is there, which is you don't find that any other time of the year. That strawberry flavor that we have from Washington ripe strawberry, you don't find that any other time of the year.
It's true.
This is when we need to eat strawberries. So yes,
I love them sliced up, just as simple as possible over a bowl of vanilla ice cream.
Yeah,
If I was going to have a strawberry treat, that to me is what the vanilla ice cream, not strawberry ice cream, vanilla ice cream with fresh, beautiful Washington strawberries on top.
Take a little bit of honey graham cracker and crumble it right on top of that.
No.
Oota.
A little crunch.
A little crunch. It's nice too.
You know what works like for that crunch also is if you take crisp topping and you bake it on its own.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like baking granola in a funny way, but
That's
just,
a great
if you
idea.
just it lasts in a little quart container for a week, stays crunchy. Just pop it right over top.
So another thing too is with those strawberries, you can also add fresh herbs. You know, there's a lot of fresh herb in the garden.
Talk about that when making
So
it savory,
tarragon-
because I struggle in the savory world.
Tarragon,
strawberries.
strawberry, and a dash of red wine vinegar.
So I've got my cut strawberries.
You cut your strawberry, you put a bunch of chopped tarragon in it, a little bit of sea salt, and some red wine vinegar. And you toss that on the counter. And that goes really well with yogurt. You take a yogurt, a raw yogurt, you know, like, not a
The
full.
whole audience is looking at you a little cockeyed right now.
Why?
They're
Nobody's
excited.
looking. Nobody's
They're
looking at me.
excited.
They're excited.
Oh, that excited. I thought you just said like cockeye, like they don't like the idea. No, you take that and then you drizzle a little bit of honey on top and you have a wonderful breakfast. And it's really, really good. It's very, you know, the strawberries, when they macerate, to me, I think it's the only way to quickly save the strawberries to macerate them either in sugar or savory or whatever, because otherwise they will mold overnight. I mean, they go really fast. It's full of sugar and it ferments like that. So you could also do kombucha, make your own kombucha with, you just take the strawberries and you leave them with a little bit of sugar and or honey on the counter, and they will ferment with a little bit of vinegar, and then you just add seltzer to it and you have a seltzer kombucha, kind of idea. But that's not my kind of drink, so I don't normally do that.
That's
me some
our
kombucha.
producer Pamela's. She just got a big grin on her face because.
I like much better to do the idea.
So you don't have to add a mother to the vinegar is all you have to add.
Or it will ferment on its own because you leave it on the counter at
The wild yeast.
65, 70 degrees. It will ferment.
Mm-hmm.
It will do its own fermentation. It will start to, you start seeing it, and when you taste it too, it starts having that little piquant. It's like you can taste it
when it starts to fizz.
Yeah.
What other herbs do you like? I mean, some people are it's like cilantro. Tarragon is sometimes like cilantro for people.
Basil is like everywhere in my garden.
Anise hyssop, I think, would be a good
Anise
one with
hyssop.
strawberries.
I also have, what do I have? Lemon verbena.
Mm-hmm.
So lemon verbena is not something I like to eat, but it's something I like to season with. So you just take the branch with the leaves on it and you put it with the strawberry, so you can remove it the next day, once it's macerated. But it gives a lemon and strawberry. Lemon lightly with strawberry, like you zest lemon, and you put that into your strawberry, a little dash of vinegar and salt, and you let it macerate. It's really a delicious flavor. Orange too does well. And then, of course, you can marry that with, we're just starting the blueberry season in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I just got my first pint from our friend at Woods Creek in Monroe. It's a U-Pick farm. I go every year. I'm going in August. And they just brought us last night. We met them, and we had our first pint of blueberry, local blueberry. So
that's awesome. When you can, that's one of the great things about our season, right? Is that when you can transition. Okay, we've had 6 weeks of strawberries. I'm kind of done with those. Let's do blueberries, plums, apricots, peaches, nectarines. I mean, it's like we're so blessed all the way through the summer to have a cascade of fruit.
And this year
hits our shelves.
This year, because we're 3 weeks behind on schedule of everything, we never really have strawberry that far in the end of July. Normally, it stops about mid-July. That's about the extent of it, and then it starts again on Labor Day weekend. Kind of, beginning of September, you get the second crop. Normally, we don't have strawberry this time of year. So it's very rare to have strawberry and blueberry kind of like matching each other. But just like peony and Kathy is amazed by the fact that we have peonies and we have dahlias at the same time this
mid-July,
year.
yeah. Well, it sounds like next week the heat's going to take care of that. Yeah. I had to drop a letter off at one of my neighbor's house a couple of mornings ago, and it was early. It was like 6:37 in the morning. I was just going to pop it on their porch, but she was out picking her blueberries for her yogurt in her robe in the front yard. So she was all embarrassed and everything, but she was out just picking them away. And all of our blueberries at our house, we can't get them. The birds are too fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are jumping right on them. The other thing I would say is with strawberries, before we leave this, is that instead of going to like these shops where you see the strawberries, this big, enormous strawberries dipped in chocolate, just melt a bowl of chocolate and dip the fresh ones yourself.
Yeah.
Because the other ones are not edible.
And by the way, those freeze also. You can actually freeze those once they've been dipped in chocolate.
When you thaw them, they get funky, in my opinion.
A little bit, but
a little bit, yeah.
Better fresh.
All right.
Cold.
Can you make texturally excellent ice cream without a machine? We're going to find out when we come back on Cairo. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
I'll pass Terry sharing the spectacular.
It was so delicious. I mean, I was in Morocco. The flavor was so good. Yeah. For that dinner, it was. I don't know if they do fixed meal every day, but that night it was like that. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, I think on Sunday they do special dinners. I mean, this was a special dinner where they were.
Oh no.
Getting a little hot.
111.
Yeah.
When?
Thursday.
A week from today. Thursday's 109. Wednesday's 107. Tuesday's 105.
Oh my God.
Saturday 109. Sunday 105.
You guys are competing with England and France and all over Europe. 111. I picked the perfect 4 days to go to Hawaii next week.
Yeah, you did.
I'm leaving on Tuesday when it goes above 90, and I'm coming back on Saturday when it goes down to 80. Like, yes!
Well, what temperature is it in Hawaii?
85.
It's always 85.
It's always 85.
Just like when we're there. The humidity changes,
Yeah.
but it's essentially.
Ice cream.
I don't see the article on this website.
You don't see the what?
About what?
It says you got this. How to make ice cream without a machine. What's this?
Are you on the handle the heat?
Yeah.
Matt Dillon. They're doing it. I think it's very, very, very nice. It felt like you were in a special place.
That's the environment that they created for sure.
Outside. When you come to the building, you go to the right and they have this patio on the right. They have one on each side of the building. We were on the right, it's covered, and it's kind of like the wall you're looking at's got stuff going on it a little bit. It definitely felt seasoned. It felt, huh? Yeah, kind of whimsical. Yeah, in some ways. Yeah, I don't know if it was whimsical, but it was definitely. It was special. I hadn't been, and I'm not a big fan of communal table, and I've always was told they had communal table, so that's why I didn't. I don't.
I know when I went, it was still communal table, and I was on the far end, and they serve everything family style, and you didn't get some of the dishes.
Yeah.
And maybe crabby.
Yeah. I've been to communal table where you get this guy next to you that you really don't want to have next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to have a night out with my wife. Didn't go so well. So but anyway, yeah, fabulous. Recommend it.
On the
Well,
list.
it's such a lovely setting. You feel like you're in Italy or something.
That's exactly what it was. It was.
Exactly.
It didn't feel like you were in Seattle. It felt like it was very well curated. It didn't feel fake. It was very natural.
Yeah. Which you just don't expect down in the industrial area of
Correct.
Georgetown.
When you park your car,
Big
you're
train
like,
going by. I
you're
mean,
parking your car, you're like, okay, is this all right? All right, it should be okay. I hope it's still here when I come back.
well, those areas are so full of campers now and RVs everywhere. So yeah, it's a slice of life.
Slice of life in urban living.
Yeah. You ready, Chef?
I'm ready.
I'm still trying to
Born
wake up.
ready.
And you jump in here wherever you want, right?
Flavors. Thinking
Gonna
about
jump
ice
in on
cream
flavors?
flavors.
Well, we announced it as texture, now we're talking flavors. That's better.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
All right, we are back in the Hot Stove Society kitchen on Cairo. We'll be back after a month gone, traversing around the world a bit. Everything you've read about airport madness is true. As we
Did you lose your luggage?
of course, on both directions.
Oh,
But my favorite part was we're sitting in the British Airlines Dreamliner on the tarmac at Heathrow, and we can see our luggage out on the tarmac, literally just laying on the tarmac, and lots of it, like maybe 500 bags are sitting there, and they get on the thing, and we've been waiting. We're already an hour late, and we've been waiting, and my captain gets on and says, "Well, we have a choice. We can leave without the luggage because there are no luggage handlers available to load the luggage, or we can try and wait for the luggage handlers, but our crew's going to time out and we can go tomorrow. So do you want to leave without the luggage, or do you want to wait till tomorrow?"
Isn't that incredible, those choices?
So everyone said, leave.
That's amazing.
So that's what we did. We left without the luggage.
Well,
And
your clothes were already used. So
I know they were all dirty anyway. My
Yes,
clubs,
red
my
clip.
golf clubs were worn out.
I was thinking of having a suitcase full of rocks just to see if that would get lost. Like, just to see if they would lose that.
I'm not sure what that means, Chef, but we're going to continue
I think
on
it's-
With
to
ice.
can you make excellent ice cream without an ice cream maker? And I think what's interesting, Pam, when you did this is you're not even using the most non-electronic ice cream maker. You're not using the hand churn. You're not using the frozen bowl in the KitchenAid. You're not. This is
What are you
literally.
using?
Tell us about the article, where you got it, and what fascinated you by this. Because when I read the first one with the whipped cream and the condensed milk,
Doesn't that sound perfect?
it does sort of, yes.
Yeah.
Although the condensed milk has its own unique flavor, kind of like coconut milk to me. It has its own unique flavor profile.
Yeah, it does.
I know. I've been trying to support Frankie and Joe's, but they're so coconut based now that everything tastes like coconut.
Mhm.
Right.
instead of-
Right.
in addition to the flavoring. But I think for simple methods, when you're just going to add a fruit, the condensed milk and whipped cream sounds beautiful and fast. But the conclusion of the article is
Where did you find the article?
it was on handletheheat.com.
Uh-huh.
The author concludes that really the best way is to make your base, freeze it, and then puree it in
Correct.
one of your blenders.
Exactly.
And that's how you get to the creamiest.
correct. I've done that
And then
before.
refreeze it or not?
And then refreeze
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You put it in a something like a food processor, like a RoboCoop kind of idea. It comes out very, very soft. It breaks everything that's icicle or whatever in there. And then you put it back in the freezer, and then you have in the next hour or so, you have a wonderful silky texture of ice cream. But-
Yes, it's the second method they covered was the plastic bag method, which sounded ridiculously
Uh-huh.
complex. It takes like 3 layers of plastic bags and ice. You make your base and then create this bath
Right.
of ice with the different bags. Like, nope, not doing that.
Not going there. So there's the freeze and stir method, but I always
Yeah.
think of that being kind of granita like.
It is like granita, but if you can do it with ice cream too.
Uh-huh.
The only thing is, like Pam said, if you just freeze ice cream, there will be ice particle in there that will be formed because of the milk and the cream,
Mhm.
the water. So you just put it in the blender, and then you have now a smooth ice cream, and you refreeze it, and it will, within an hour, you'll have a wonderful ice cream. I think an ice cream maker is one of those tools in your house that, first of all, you need more space because that's another machine. But most importantly, I think the assessment is very simple. How often are you going to make ice cream in 1 year?
Twice.
And how big is your house?
And how big is your house? Your cupboards?
I have an entire 2-car garage that's full of kitchen equipment, so
Yeah,
I
me
have
too.
plenty of room.
I have, I
Do
have,
you
a,
use it?
I have a, I have a catering
Jackie,
company
wife
in my
makes it.
garage.
Yeah, exactly. So there's I think those are the real questions there.
Right.
Before you get into this no machine ice cream making, is what do you have room for? Like,
Correct.
you have these ones that came out maybe 25 years ago where you freeze the kind of
bowl.
gel-filled bowl,
Mhm.
and then you put it into a simple little on a food processor. Here, we're sponsored by KitchenAid, so I would always use a KitchenAid food processor. And is that something that you have room in your freezer for?
Right.
I ended up not having room for that.
Right.
So I bought one of those little Italian stainless steel jobbers that were super expensive just because that's my nature. And then it sits in the cabinet and I never use it. Jackie once in a while used it. The problem with it is it's a no.
The bowl doesn't remove.
The bowl doesn't remove. So you got to clean the ice cream machine like in and out and blah, 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 blah. It's like, give me a break. I'm going to buy Haagen-Dazs.
That's not practical. No, I'm with you. And
And,
I think, honestly, I think those freezing bowl, use it once or twice a year. You just do it, like, you're going to go to the farmer's market on Friday. On Thursday, you put it in the freezer. Friday, you go to the market, you buy those strawberries, you blend those strawberries, you make your ice cream base, you put it into the bowl and you churn it. You'd have a great ice cream for the weekend. You're not trying to open an ice cream store, obviously, otherwise buy an ice cream maker. You're not trying to. So, it depends, again, on the space you have and but in general, that bowl is very sufficient.
So if I was going to do this is Tessa Aria's website. She's an influencer in the kitchen. And also she
look at you go with the influencer language. I love it.
Why do you love that? Anyway, so the method that she has 4 different methods, 3 of which one was the freeze the base, put it into a blender or a food processor.
Right.
One was freeze and stir.
Right.
One was the plastic bag, which we all said never are we ever going to do that.
Right.
But the easy one, it seems to me, and the one that if you want to try a process before you go buy an ice cream machine to see if you like the end product, I would do this one, which is simply whip 2 cups of cream by hand or with an electric mixer until stiff peaks, right?
Yeah.
So heavy cream. I would use the heaviest cream you could buy.
Yeah.
And if you look on the cream when you buy it at the store, it's got percentage of butter fat in it, right? And then slowly drizzle in a chilled can of sweetened condensed milk. So while it's at its stiff peak, then you put in the milk. Add your desired flavorings or mix-ins. Remove to an airtight container and freeze. I would try that before I bought an ice cream machine to see if that was something that I could live with.
So the condensed milk is the key here. That's what stops it from freezing too
hard
and to freeze, all the water particles. So it binds it, and also the sugar content is so high that it doesn't freeze as hard.
Sugar. It's just a condensed milk, which is I found. That's not super sweet.
Well, isn't there quite a bit of sugar in the condensed milk?
Yeah, I'm just saying, but that's only 1/3 of the 3 cups of cream.
Right.
Dairy that
but
you're
it's
using.
more than you normally would have in your ice cream, probably. That's all.
So Pamela, you had some ideas on flavorings that you would have done. She does simple things like, add a teaspoon of peppermint oil and add a teaspoon of green food coloring, to make and chocolate chips, right? To make your mint chocolate chip. What is your favorite ice cream flavor if you were to make it?
Maple walnut.
Really?
I'm a New England girl.
Hey, you get the good walnut, you roast the walnut, and black walnut, you roast them and you let them sit till they cool off, and then put that in your ice cream. Then you put your good maple syrup.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I would make 100 batches of ice cream and never put a walnut in it.
Really?
I just
you don't like walnuts.
Don't care for them. Okay, what's
Maple
your next
pecan?
favorite one so that I can have some?
Hazelnut.
Blackberry.
Okay, good.
Although hazelnut, I was inspired for this segment by Gelatiamo on 3rd Avenue. She makes a spectacular, fresh artisan gelato every day. And I had combo hazelnut and tiramisu this week. That was mind-blowing. Her texture.
Yeah.
So, right on.
It's right on.
But I can eat nut ice cream like that, where the nuts are literally powdered.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just part of the smooth texture. But the chunks of walnuts or the chunks of pecans, not my favorite thing.
So remember those cherries? Those strawberries I was macerating in sugar. You put that in an ice cream. You take the syrup. You remove the syrup. You take the strawberries and you put them in your ice cream at the last minute and toss them together. So when you're eating your vanilla ice cream, you have little chunky, kind of not chunky, but bites of strawberries, whole strawberries into your ice cream.
And I would say that's a good way to do your fruit before you put it in ice cream, because then, fruit has a lot of water in it and doesn't freeze like an ice cube in the middle of your creamy ice cream.
Right. You don't want to put just strawberry into your ice cream because
Right.
that's gonna turn out into that ice crappy stuff.
Ice
It's not gonna be
crystals,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
What flavor are you gonna make, Tom?
me?
Yeah.
Well, I was inspired by Terry's tarragon strawberry vinegar.
Yeah.
And when I was in Scotland, I had a blue cheese walnut ice cream that
Stop it.
possibly the worst thing I've ever
Oh.
eaten. So I'm going to somehow try and get back to a spot where I could live.
Would you like some brie?
It was horrific. They thought they were so cute, but it was horrific.
What a terrible concept.
All right, can you make sticky ribs in the oven, or do you have to have a barbecue? This is a arm wrestle when we come back. This is going to be hand-to-hand combat.
I just
When
might
we
get one
come
of your
back.
cookbooks out. Be careful.
Okay, on Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Yeah.
Of course. He did a what? Escargot. That's
At
why
the
he-
auction
that's
of
why he's
Washington
no long-
wine.
That's why he's no longer in business. Ugh. Sometimes we get a little too cute for ourselves. Yeah. No.
Look how cute the toad in the hole is.
Why? I don't know why I don't have one, honestly.
Probably because you started by saying
Why are you making that?
you messed up something. Isn't it what you started the day with?
Oh, I asked her what she did to those poor macaroons over there.
She
That are-
didn't do anything. She just baked them. That's what she said.
Must be the recipe.
Personal responsibility.
Yep. So, by the way, if you're going to do those ribs, you should do them this week
Why?
because it's going to be hot next week. Don't want to turn that oven on.
In the oven, finished on the grill with anchovy molasses. Those were good, right?
But finished on the grill.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Turn on your oven and your grill. That makes sense. Let's talk about that. Finished on the grill.
Thank you, Sean, for remembering.
They were super good, huh?
I actually,
And what barbecue sauce did you use? Oh, that's interesting.
And show your molasses.
they were actually in the oven when you came over for dinner the day Jackie made the fried chicken.
Oh,
But
yeah?
she made so much fried chicken that, and it was so delicious that then I just brought the ribs to work.
Why did you have her make fried chicken if you already had ribs in the oven?
I didn't have a completely thought out plan.
All right.
How's your breakfast? Beautiful. Looks gorgeous.
Sounds like there's a wild hog in the back down there.
Coming away.
Annie, they're loving it.
That's for myself.
She's feisty.
These folks come here for something they can't make at home.
So bad.
And
looks-
he has, how old's your boy now? 5, 6? 3 in a week? His birthday's not my birthday, is it? No, it's not. Congrats for not killing him.
It's not over yet. It's only 3.
I know, but that's a tough age.
I know.
I can see it in Hercules already. It's like, Ooh.
He's starting to get a little spunky.
Oh. He was wielding a stick the other day when I was over at their house, just like whoosh. I thought he was in martial arts already or something.
How old is that kid already?
17 months.
Because I remember when he was born, so it doesn't feel like 17 months ago. Hello.
Hi.
Bonjour. Come on in.
Ready, chef?
Yep.
All right, and we're back here in the Hot Stove Society Kitchen on Cairo. If you've never been to a class here at the Hot Stove, you owe it to yourself to come join us sometime.
Absolutely.
It's really fun. When Chef Annie's up here, it gets a little dicey because she has a hard time controlling her language because she gets so into it.
I think she's very sweet.
She's powerful. She's
very powerful for sure.
Puts on her Edna Mode hat, and that things are all over at that point. She's invincible. We're back, and we're going to talk about sticky finger ribs.
Okay.
And we're also going to, Pamela is convinced that you don't need a charcoal grill to make delicious ribs at home. And I wouldn't argue with that at all. That you don't need a charcoal grill to make delicious.
But if you
ribs.
have one, I think it's a good tool to use.
I agree. And I know she has one because I gave it to her.
And it's gorgeous, and I use it.
And it's good. Okay, so go back to your story on the ancho molasses ribs that you made and the fact that you put that in the midst of a story where you're saying you don't need a grill, and yet you found the need to finish on the grill.
I think one of the most important things that I've started to learn from you 40 years in is some meat needs to be low and slow.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm concerned on the grill about controlling my temperature for that length of time to keep it low, but for a long time.
Right.
Which is why I rely on low and slow in the oven, and then you get the smoky burst at the end and finish them on the grill with the sauce.
Mm-hmm. But if you were to just go low and slow in the oven, I think Chef would agree that you could actually finish there and have a delicious product, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're buying, say, a smoky barbecue sauce.
Oh, what one would you recommend?
Well, honestly, my ancho molasses has no smoke flavor in it. Like most of the commercial sauces out there, Stubbs, all those have some liquid smoke in them.
Yeah.
And so you can get a little bit of that smoky flavor from the style of barbecue sauce that you choose to use.
You can also put a little just a little bit of wood chip in your oven in a container. Yeah, you put a little bit of wood chip in your oven, and it will create smoke in your oven, and you'll have smoke on your ribs. It's not that
it creates a lot of things in your oven, just so you know.
I was like, that sounds so.
If you've ever looked inside of a smoker, they are full of soot and dirt.
You're not doing that every day. You just do it a couple times a year.
But it doesn't go away unless you clean your oven.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you clean your oven.
Wait, what?
You're
supposed to clean
You're supposed to clean your oven. I know. I was just looking at Pam. I was like, yeah, when was the last time you cleaned your oven?
Mike does it.
So if you're going to do it in the oven, you're going to kind of slow roast them, like you said, 225, 250, 3 or 4 hours, a rack of baby back ribs. And then you can come out and you can do your Asian style ribs, which is maybe 5 spice and honey and maybe some soy sauce and however it is that you like them, some rice wine vinegar, reduce it down and then glaze them right on top.
Or you could do the Dijon mustard, rosemary, brushed all over your ribs.
Did you just put a further French accent into your French accent?
I did, because the Dijon mustard.
And I love the way you did that, Chef.
You had to put that in. So anyway. See, I don't hear my accent, so I don't think I have one, so I have to add it.
So you have to add it. I love that. That was awesome.
So a mustard glaze.
Yeah. So when your ribs
so how do you cook the ribs?
So your ribs are just like salt and pepper. The way I do my ribs is I put salt and pepper, leave it on the counter. I always leave my meat on the counter to macerate a little bit. I call it macerate with the salt and pepper, fresh thyme, and I leave it on the counter for about an hour. Then I put it in the oven, 225, like you said, between 225 and 250. then let it cook all the way up to almost ready. And
Which
then
is what? What temperature would you say? My guess
I would
is
say
somewhere around
120.
160.
No. 125, 130. That's where I go, like medium rare.
Oh, so you take it to that.
I take
Okay,
it to that,
all right.
and then I have a Dijon mustard, rosemary, thyme, and pepper. And I take a brush and I brush that all over my ribs. Now I put it back in the oven at about 275, 300. So it's a little bit higher over heat. And I finish it like this, and then the mustard crust on top of it crust on top of your ribs, and you have mustard.
And if you were to put a thermometer stick in there, I would say we're looking at 165.
Yeah, 165.
170, somewhere in that area?
165 is enough. Because when you take them out, you let them rest, then you cut them and put them on the platter and serve that. It's nice because that little crust of Dijon mustard is.
Yes, I've never had mustard encrusted ribs, and I want to experience that.
I do that with very fine cutlet of pork, really fine pork chop. That's my mom does that. That's the first thing she did when I went to France.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "You want some pork chop grilled?" I'm like, "Yes." They call that grillade. They just macerate those pork chop overnight and then throw it on the grill, and it cooks in 5 minutes. You get pork chops because it's already.
That's not the one you're going to take to 165 or 175.
No.
You want those at medium.
Yeah.
I mean, the health department would never say that, but for me at my house, when I cook it for myself, we're looking at 135 in that territory. 135,
Absolutely.
140,
You're not 175 on that, because that would be true leather.
Right. That's the problem with those pork loins these days. They're so lean that you can't overcook them, or you end up with shoe leather. Yeah.
Tom, will you go back to the meat that you're buying for these oven roasted ribs?
Sure. So
Baby back, or
you can do anything, any and all of the above. All those are interchangeable. I think the important part is what Chef said about the temperatures, right? So when you get to the end, but if you're buying spare ribs, you often see in the store these days St. Louis ribs. So St. Louis ribs are spare ribs with the tips cut off, so that it's a long rectangular rack, and there's no
and it's really good because it's less bones and more meat.
Yeah, although on the tips in that area down there, that meat laps over to the bottom of those tips, and so you see burnt ends sometimes in a barbecue joint, and that's that tips that cut off, so that when they do their ribs, they sell you the ribs. They're pretty even ribs.
Right.
So anyway, baby backs. It's interesting today because baby back ribs have become so popular. It used to be forever that the ribs were half the price of pork loin, right? Of that center cut pork loin. But now everyone wants the ribs. And so the ribs are now oftentimes $2 or $3 more expensive than the boneless center cut pork loin.
I know which you're not a fan of.
I'm not a fan of. But I'm also not a fan of right now when you buy baby back ribs. What are you going to do if you're a butcher, if you're a pig company, a pig farmer, and you know that the baby backs are going to bring in $7 a pound?
You're going to keep more bone on it.
You're going to keep more of that loin on the baby backs because you're getting more money for that. And so you're seeing these baby back ribs now that sometimes are an inch thick.
Chunk of meat at the end.
The problem is that is still lean meat on there. So when you cook them, the traditional meat on a baby back rib in between the bones is nice and juicy, and it renders and it melts, but that chunk of loin on the top that they've left because they're getting more money for it now is dry and gross.
So if you know what you're doing, just take a knife, run it through, cut the piece off, put it in your freezer, and then use it for ground beef, or put it in a pasta. Next time you're making a pasta, take it out of the freezer. You can cube it and sear it quickly, and then put it in your pasta or whatever.
Pound it out and bread it and make schnitzel out of it. Yeah.
Or grind it and make a little patty and like a breakfast patty.
And then just before we have to run, country style pork ribs are literally the pork butt, the pork shoulder cut up into ribs. And that bone in the country style pork ribs is the blade bone from the shoulder.
Right.
What we consider the rotator cuff bone.
Those are delicious.
The bones.
Yeah, I love the cartilage.
All right, when we come back, it's Laura Kleist time here. She's the founder of Intentionalist. For a couple of segments. And of course, we're going to finish today with a Rub with Love Food for Thought Tasty Trivia Challenge, of which I'm not feeling very good about for myself today.
Oh,
I know I lack confidence today, which is unusual when it comes to that
Think golf.
particular challenge.
Think golf.
Think golf. On Cairo Radio, you're listening to the Hot Stove Society show, and we thank you. 97.3 FM.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Well, he turned it up to 300 for the finish to try and get some of that crust going. Yeah.
I never use foil because when you're cooking at 250, it's not gonna. I mean, it's gonna take a long time. Plus, I'm monitoring it. Once you cook it at 250, and then when it reach about 125, I put all that mustard on it, and I put it back in the oven at 300. That's when it takes a little while. I mean, it's not like it's not an instant.
You can even go up to 325 or 350. Yeah.
325.
You started what? Yeah. Everyone's got their own way. A lot of people, even restaurants, these famous barbecue, like Famous Dave's or places like that. I'm not sure how they do theirs, but a lot of these barbecue restaurants boil their ribs first.
Yeah.
My mother always boiled her ribs
Yeah,
first,
a lot of people do that.
and then popped them in the oven because she wanted to get the fat out, right? So it's just a matter of your preference and how you were taught as a kid growing up. So.
Right. No.
Right here, Laura. Yeah.
Hello. Seems like it's a very short share. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Ça fait longtemps, n'est-ce pas?
Ça fait très longtemps. Comment tu vas?
Get you closer.
Oh,
Or do you like that one?
Well, we just have to pull the mic down for her. Either one works.
Yeah. Oh, custom bags. Spend like it mattered.
I mean, my wife teases me. This is my traveling office because it's really full of
Everything.
Everything you sell,
so we actually don't sell that many things,
right?
but it's full of my computer. These are all gift cards from local businesses that we purchased that we make available for sale through our website during the pandemic.
So can you buy a bag like this full?
That's a good idea.
Très bonne idée.
We were across the street this morning, and so I got my phone.
See, we're spending like it matters right there.
I love it.
Oh, beauty! Look at that. He's so happy.
Got a good look on his
I
face.
know. He's enamored by his.
You guys want to see my
bag.
grandson?
Yeah, that's fine.
We were down at Ocean Star Restaurant eating
Where were you eating crab?
Ocean Star.
Where is that?
It's where the old Sunya used to be, dim sum restaurant. It's one of the few places.
Oh.
New owner
Yeah.
right before the pandemic. Her
Yeah.
timing was
They are
not so great.
struggling mightily. If they didn't have they have that classic kind of Chinese American bar, I would call it, and that does okay, but the restaurant itself is not busy.
Opening
And
when
it's huge.
yeah.
What do you think they have in there? 200 seats plus, right?
Easily.
Yeah.
It's been a challenging time. You can get her gift certificates through Intentionalist.
I had a live king crab there.
Amazing.
Wow.
$700 for one crab. Yeah. It was 12 pounds.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Wow.
But it's hard to find. You never really see live king crab.
It's expensive as heck.
Well, 12 pounds.
I know. No, but I mean to have it as a restaurant, especially a restaurant that's a little bit struggling. That's That's
most of the I'm trying to remember. Xiaojing is the name of the owner.
okay.
Xiaojing Chen. And she took over, I mean, right before the pandemic.
Oh man.
Kind of
Who'd she
before-
take over from? Because it was Ocean Star before that.
I don't remember. I
Okay.
hadn't met the previous
All right.
owners.
Some people like it, because there's parking right out front. They have their own little parking lot.
And it's, I mean, one of the Lazy Susans in the middle.
Right.
It's very typical.
Very classic.
Yeah.
When Sea Garden burnt down, that's the next closest thing in Chinatown for that type of seafood, live tank seafood.
Right, right.
They had just sold out of their last spot prawns. I love those salt and pepper spot prawns.
Yeah.
So, Tom, as I was preparing for our conversation this morning, because what we do is all about people and their stories. Certainly, there's a lot that's been written about both of you. But one of the fun things that I came across as I was reading about you is that you began at Cafe Sport.
Uh-huh.
And Cafe Sport has a special place in my heart.
You're not old enough to know Cafe Sport.
I know
I
you.
am. So
I'm
my,
surprised by this.
I know, me
so
too.
my grandmother lived in Marketplace North. She had a
Oh,
condo,
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up on special occasions going with her to Cutters and
Mhm.
Cafe Sport. When my parents would come downtown, we would walk to the original only Starbucks
Uh-huh.
to get special coffee. There was the Haagen-Dazs on the corner, which was always
Sure,
a
which
treat.
is where Seatown is now.
But
Yeah.
but my grandmother, I mean, they had her name on a short list. She had her table.
That is so
Um,
cool.
But so many wonderful memories. at
You must
Cafe
have been
Sport.
what, 3 or 4 or 5?
I wasn't. I mean, I'm in my 40s now.
Yeah.
Um,
So you were 10.
but
maybe.
it
What's
was
your grandma's name?
Mary.
Is
Mary
it
Kleiss.
It is a Kleiss.
I
So,
remember Mary
that was-
Kleiss. Isn't that funny?
That was I mean,
Yeah.
she was there all the time.
Isn't that funny?
Oftentimes for lunch.
Mhm.
But also
Cafe Sport was a good restaurant. Our first couple of years open at Cafe Sport, our sport, it was connected to the Seattle Athletic Club. They were our landlords, but our sport was watching the line snaking out of Cutters. And we were sitting there doing nothing. And Cutters was just like the hot thing at the moment. And literally there'd be a 2-hour wait to get into Cutters. And we'd be sitting there like across the street, just kind of looking over there. Okay.
God,
This is really fun. Thanks so much.
God, those days. Ugh.
And then we got popular and
And I was old enough to know about Rover, but I didn't have the privilege to dine there, but my family did.
Oh, cool.
But what I hadn't realized was, so I grew up here in Seattle, left for university and life for about 19 years.
Maybe we should put this on the radio, huh?
well, yeah, but she has a mission too.
Oh, that's
so.
true. That's true. Go ahead. Keep going.
Anyway, sorry, this is
No,
like
they're-
not about
I
like
think they're happy.
food or what have you.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Hello, Helen.
I'm Tom.
I'm Thierry.
So when I moved back to Seattle, it was to lead corporate sustainability and corporate responsibility for Plum Creek, which then merged with Weyerhaeuser.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So my office was at 2 Union Square. My welcome lunch was at Lulé.
Oh, wow.
And
Um,
I had never thought to make the connection or the inquiry, why Lulé? And to discover that the connection is your hometown.
Yeah.
Again, I think that sometimes it's so easy to focus on the food and the preparation and the layers of flavor. And I think that that's where our minds naturally go. And yet, from an intentionalist perspective, we care equally, if not more so.
Now we
about
can go on the radio.
stories.
Now we can go on the radio.
All right.
That's like so
Anyway.
perfectly
Yeah.
said.
Let's-
So
let's-
even though this is the first time the three of us have had the chance to talk all together, I have felt some connections. I went on a date in high school at Dahlia Lounge.
Did you really?
I did.
That's so funny.
That must have been some date.
Uh,
It was a special
Yeah.
For sure.
Laura, if you'll, we have to be this close to the microphone to sound good on the radio. So just pull it to you, or
If you want
come
that
to
sexy
it.
voice.
But one way or another, it has to be within an inch or two of the microphone. And if it works better on the lower chair, we can do that too.
Yeah. No, I got it. It's very natural. And I apologize. I still have a little bit of
1 or 2 inches.
I still have a little bit of a residual cough. If I start
No,
coughing,
no problem.
I have a pocket full of like lozenges.
But I want you to listen to yourself when you get close.
Okay.
You hear that?
Okay.
And now go back to where you were.
All right. So I need to
So
be
it's just because it's how it sounds on the radio that's important to me, not so much in here.
okay.
All right. You ready, set here? You ready, set? Come back for our second hour here of the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Pam, you have jam-packed the show once again.
Woo.
Lots of interesting topics and lots of controversy. Grill or no grill. Churn or no churn on your ice cream.
But we're not going to be controversial about supporting Laura and Intentionalists. That's for sure.
Why not? We welcome Laura Kleiss, founder of Intentionalist, for a couple of moments here on the Hot Stove Show. And we had some time to chat in between the break to realize that of our shared history and shared stories and life and things
she's a
like
100% local.
that. Exactly. Laura, welcome to our show.
Thanks so
Welcome.
much for having me.
So let's get the Intentionalists right out in the open here. So I know as a company, we have become more intentional about how we do our business, about where we buy our products and things of that nature. And it was probably as a result of some of the things going on in our country over the last 5 years that we became more intentional about our process. I mean, we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars every year to bring food in, on labor, to rent, and so sometimes you just have to step back and say, okay, I'm spending this money either way. Where am I spending it, and who am I spending it with? And I think our customers do the same to us. Like, they intentionally come to spend with us, spend time with us, spend their dollars with us. And so that to me is what you're all about. And maybe is that what you're thinking in your head?
Absolutely. So Intentionalists began with the simple truth that where we spend our money matters, and that everyday decisions about where we eat, drink, and shop are an opportunity to connect with the people and stories behind the Main Street small businesses in our community, and vote with our dollars to ensure that they continue to bring all of the tremendous value that they do.
Vote with your dollar is for sure a good saying. Whatever you buy is whatever you support. I mean,
So how do you go about it? How do you teach people to do this? Or what's your company all about? Give us the rundown.
So Intentionalist began with an intentional list of Main Street small businesses owned by women, people of color, families, military veterans, Indigenous people, members of the LGBTQ community, and also just generally small business owners that neighbors know, appreciate, and support.
And also need to discover, because when you live in a very big city, I think it's very hard to keep up with all the changes that happen in your neighborhood. At least, like for example, if you live in Beacon Hill or in Columbia City, in the last 10 years, there's been drastic changes. It's hard to keep up with what's going on.
One of the things that I had observed over many years was that on the one hand, there was a growing interest on the part of people to be more intentional, to be more responsible, to be more sustainable in the decisions that we make. And yet, when it came to resources focused on local businesses, the emphasis was always on what, not who.
Right.
And to your point, Thierry, when you look at what small business owners bring to their community beyond the food that's on the plate, it's the stories of why they started their businesses, sometimes to share culture, sometimes out of necessity.
Mhm.
My maternal grandma was a small business owner. She grew up on a sugarcane plantation on the island of Kauai, eventually was able to own and operate an appliance repair shop with her husband. And that was transformational. So we know, and we have incredible history in this country of the impact that small businesses can play in providing economic stability, economic mobility. But then on the other side, I started Intentionalist because I noticed there was a gap between our good intentions and our ability to easily take action. So, on the one hand, Intentionalist began as a directory that makes it easy not only to find a local coffee shop or restaurant or bakery or ice cream destination. I love ice cream. But also to be intentional about learning who are the people behind that business and how can you connect with, support, and build community.
Beautiful.
And I think about generational wealth at the same time, because these immigrants that come in and by the seat of their pants get these businesses started or work in another business to earn enough money to get their own business started, however that process works for them. When I look at my own life and my own family, and I didn't come from a lot of money, but I certainly came from the middle class, I will say. But the next generation, my daughter has a whole different lifestyle and wealth package in her life than I ever had when I was a little kid. So I see that happening in immigrant families too, where the parents work for the benefit of their children in a way that we forget sometimes.
Absolutely. I would say immigrant families. And yet we're also seeing some wonderful examples here in Seattle of folks who are born and raised here, who found their way into the culinary profession. And as they have worked their way up through their career, see an opportunity to share their family's story, their family's culture, but also absolutely to have a pathway to intergenerational wealth. You know, one of the guys that you have supported directly, Tom, is Trey Lamont. And I think that Trey's story is fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a good story.
Yeah, he just makes me angry though, because he is so handsome, so well spoken,
So fun.
He's just like the perfect man, and it's just I feel small with Trey.
Hey, it's the next generation. They picked up what you
He's
left
so
off.
cool. I like him a lot.
They took everything you did plus adding to it.
I
Oh,
know,
dude.
and then you'll have to incorporate taekwondo
That's
into
right.
your
Really?
pre-cooking regimen.
Okay, more with Laura when we come back, and we're going to dive into some of the stories that maybe you could share with us of the small businesses around here that you've helped during the pandemic. And as you even mentioned to Terry, understanding, why was his restaurant named Lulé? Well, it's his hometown, right? It's bringing and sharing some of those things through your business. Right here on Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Very cool.
Trey's smile lights up the world. It is unbelievable.
Your reach has extended beyond Seattle now.
It has.
So, are you going? Is your focus I-5 corridor or?
So,
Is this radio or is this?
No.
Okay.
Just background.
sorry. So kind of. We aim to be a community source, community driven platform. And so that means that, as Tom was referencing, the racial justice uprising and movement in June of 2020 led, a community of folks in Portland, San Diego, and Durham, North Carolina, to want to share their favorite Black-owned businesses on our platform. We've had some collaboration with Apple Maps to highlight LGBTQ-owned small businesses in 5 cities around the world. I'm a big sports fan, and so in 2019, through some nonprofit work that I'm involved with, I had the opportunity to participate in a gender equity summit in Lyon, France. And as part of that travel, I looked up local women-owned businesses, and it was just a really wonderful way to explore and experience a different
Great
city.
idea. Yeah.
Because, I mean, we know here in Seattle that a great way to get to know our city is through the diversity of small businesses, different culinary expressions, and the same is true for other cities around the world as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know I always start with looking for the wine shops, but I think I'm going to start with women-owned businesses because that gets you to the right
that cheese shop
places.
that we loved in Nantes was a
Female-owned.
woman-owned business. Yeah,
In what town?
in Nantes.
Oh, in Nantes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called the Gem
don't
Shop
remember
or
the
something,
name.
and the cases were all laid out like a jewelry store, and there was just like a little bit of this cheese and a little bit of that cheese, and you pulled out the drawer when you wanted a taste or when you buy some. We were
Ugh,
blown
blown
away.
away.
Yeah.
All I can think about is being with Larry Stone in Bone in a big, like giant line in a cheese shop called Hess downtown Bone. My God, what a selection!
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right.
Anyway, you know about Chicorina pastry?
Absolutely.
How about Joyce?
Joyce's Cheese Shop and Butchery?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
She's way ahead of us. We need to mind
I'm
her
picking-
research.
I'm picking.
No,
I'd like to
I can
find-
see he's testing
I'm
to
just
see.
He's
trying.
testing.
I'm just trying to see how
She's-
deep we're
she's
going
on
here.
it.
All right, we're back in the kitchen here at the Hot Stove at the beautiful Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle. Thank you for joining us. We've got the rest of our second hour to come, finishing up with our Food for Thought Tasty Trivia Challenge. Don't forget that. Laura Kleiss is here, and she has been talking about her company called Intentionalist. And how do you make money, Laura, with Intentionalist? Because you can't continue your process unless you have funds to do that. So
I'm really glad that you asked that question because our mission from the start has been intentional, and so is our business model. So as I started to talk to Main Street small business owners as we were getting started, one of the things that became really clear is that most tech-enabled small business resources operate on a relatively extractive business model where consumers like us receive incentives that oftentimes are directly off the backs of small business owners who have very thin margins.
So an
we,
example of that in my mind would be, say, DoorDash or
Yeah,
something like
delivery.
that, where you have a nice little Cambodian restaurant who's trying to make it, especially during the pandemic, and DoorDash comes along and negotiates somewhere between 18 and 30% of the revenue that they're trying, desperately to make. And it's just onerous, right? It's a tech
Yeah.
extraction is what you just talked about. Yeah.
Convenience comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we've done is from a place of asking the question, who benefits and who pays? The reality is that when small businesses thrive, we all benefit. It isn't just the small restaurant. And where value is created, there's the opportunity to explore a willingness to pay.
Mhm.
And so what we've done incrementally over time is experimented with coupling our underlying directory, which is free, with different channels for incentive that companies, local government, Seattle professional sports teams pay to activate. So for example, during Pride Month, all of the Seattle major sports teams helped pay for incentives encouraging their fans to visit and spend money at LGBTQ-owned small businesses. And then they also underwrote a discount on gift cards to LGBTQ-owned small businesses through
Brilliant,
Intentionalist.
Very cool. You
brilliant.
We
reverse.
don't charge a commission fee, so the businesses are receiving 100% of the sales. The teams pay for the discount gap, and then they also pay with us. They also pay us as a channel for fan engagement.
So you're getting the corporate world to pay for you as opposed to the little guy to pay for you.
Yes.
Which is-
Yeah, not,
which is
and
a
not
much
just
better-
you, but for them across the board.
Yes. I
I
mean,
mean,
Yeah,
sell $100 gift card, the little restaurant gets $100, which
Exactly.
is just not the case in. I mean, anywhere, even MasterCard, Visa takes 3% right off
Right.
the top, right? So
I mean, and we invite the community to chip in. And what we've seen is that by and large, when we explain that our focus is on trying not to maximize our own profitability, but to ensure that small businesses can benefit, we invite consumers to chip in a little bit to help us cover our costs. And by and large, they do.
Mhm.
And so the way that we think about our business model is certainly multi-stream, but as we're able to continue to grow our directory, our marketplace, and our relationships with third-party stakeholders, companies, community-based organizations, colleges and universities, local government, we've identified where we're able to create value for each of those stakeholders. Right now, we're working on a curated guide for Seattle University that will serve as the foundation for their capacity to encourage students, staff, faculty, and visitors to get to know and support local businesses. We've had the opportunity to do something similar with the Seattle Storm around Climate Pledge Arena. We work with Visit Seattle. And so kind of the way that I think about this is if we zoom back and we think about where are the opportunities where people are looking to spend their money anyway, are looking for a more unique and meaningful way to experience where they are, whether they're visitors or locals. And then who are the different parties that might help accelerate and encourage and incentivize intentional spending, and how can we be that solution?
The Port of Seattle at the airport, get all the international travelers to come in.
is there a case example, a case study? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is that of a small business that's really benefited from intentional spending that maybe didn't have it before, where you kind of, they made your list, or they, you identified them, and is there some good examples of that? Or is it just all?
Fortunately, there are so many.
Yeah.
No, and I say that because
I mean-
when people ask what we're most proud of, it isn't the collaboration with the Seattle Sounders or the Seahawks or the Storm. It isn't the recognition that we've received from, Seattle Times or Puget Sound Business Journal. We are a Seattle tech startup. We're a social purpose corporation, but we have the trust of Main Street, diverse-owned small businesses. And one example that I would point to is a wonderful spot called Emma's Barbecue in Hillman City. You can head to our website to learn more about Tess. Tess is a grandmother. She started Emma's to pay homage to her mother, who was a cook and owned the original Emma's. Her grandchildren help with the operation. And we were introduced to Tess. She has also done a lot for foster kids in the community through the nonprofit Treehouse. And the first time I tried Tessa's food, I was blown away. Her brisket is on point. And the second thing I learned about Tess is that she's a huge Seahawks fan. So last year, when the Seahawks called asking for some recommendations for restaurants that could pop up at the Boeing Classic Golf Tournament, I immediately thought of Tess. As folks came through her line at the golf event, they were as struck by her story and her food as I was, and she was invited to then pop up at Lumen Field at a Seahawks game.
Wow.
Fans loved her food so much that that opportunity was extended throughout the season, and at the end of the season, it was extended to Seattle Sounders games as well. And so when I look at what it is that we all can do to help businesses like Tess, I mean, she's done all of the hard work, but we've been able to help amplify her story, make connections, and then integrate her into our gift card network, into our marketplace, so that ultimately what we're doing as a community.
Yeah, you grew up from a small business to a sound business, which is good.
Well, and you create generational wealth. You
Yeah.
start to take people.
Giving her
more-
a platform she didn't have.
So Emma's Barbecue in Hillman City, check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Check it out. Well, it's so fun to listen to your story and to listen to how we can make a difference throughout our communities. Understand the stories of our small business people, and so if you want to know more, you go to the Intentionalist website. It's not the Intentionalist; it's Intentionalist.
Intentionalist.com.
Okay, perfect. Laura Kleiss has been our guest. Awesome work. We
Yeah,
look forward to being
congratulations.
partners. I see you got some Boon Boona coffee. Over at the
Absolutely.
Dahlia Bakery. We were intentional about that, and it's been a great partnership for the last couple of years. So we love that. Up next, summer snacking on hand pies. What are hand pies? On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Wow.
Thanks
Very
so much
cool.
for having me.
Very, very
Amazing.
cool.
No, and you have my number. I mean, you both are celebrated, decorated chefs and community leaders. When I moved back to Seattle, I had been away for 19 years, and it was like starting again.
Where did you go?
I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I was
Sorry.
in.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, I
town.
love Minneapolis.
No,
St.
I
Paul.
was
I was
I was
joking.
in Long Beach,
California?
California. I spent time in Brussels,
Belgium.
in Belgium.
Okay.
I went to business school in Arizona, but it was an international business school, which is why Belgium and Jordan.
Oh, wow.
And then after business school, I was in DC prior to moving back to Seattle.
Wow.
We're
for you.
lucky you came back.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this has always been my
Great work.
hometown.
Very
And thanks so
thoughtful.
much for letting me talk about something other than how to cook things. These guys are the experts.
matters.
But I did want to make sure that you knew that, Thierry and I recently had the opportunity to share a table. I was definitely the odd person at the table because I don't cook and I don't have a restaurant. But it was a culinary coalition raising awareness and encouraging people to donate blood with
Oh,
Bloodworks
you helped with
Northwest. And so one
It
of the
worked.
things that I have appreciated about these guys and about so many of the small business owners in our communities is that they are members of our community. They know the issues that are on our minds. They give back to, they take care of the members of our community most in need. And we saw really inspiring examples of that throughout the pandemic. But I think that ultimately, whatever your platform is, whether you are, an award-winning, celebrated chef, or whether you're just an intentional consumer, we all have a platform. And when we are intentional about using it to connect with and celebrate the under-celebrated, to build community, I truly believe that in a world where we can swipe and click our way to immediate gratification, we still want connection and we still want community.
You're here.
Yeah, amen to that.
All right,
And we
we
still
got.
want good food.
Yep. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Helen, good to meet you. Thank you for coming too.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Where are you two off to next?
So there's actually a wonderful new beginnings. We're going to own a coffee shop opening in Fremont called Overland Coffee, which is in today's grand opening. And previously, still, the couple still owns Urban Mailbox. So a mail shop.
Oh, been to a coffee shop.
And there's already just a lot of buzz around bringing innovative flavors that they bring to their menu and the great results.
Laura, have you been to camp yet?
Yes,
They're opening yesterday, huh?
it's exciting.
No.
Absolutely. And I think that they're
Yeah.
They have some big shoes to fill if you
No, the guy behind them was loony. No, it's cool.
They're already open.
I think they opened yesterday because yesterday I drove by and there was people on the patio.
So be sure to check out camp.
28 and Madison. Well, they do both. On their window, I think it says,
This is non-alcoholic.
I think on their window it says alcohol, low alcohol, no alcohol. I think
All
they're
right, we got
trying
to
to
keep moving. I hate to break up the party.
catch the audience, but merci. À la prochaine à toi et bonne chance.
No, they're good there. Thanks for offering.
All right, see ya.
Ciao, ciao. And pie. And pie. Oh, no, and jive. Sorry.
Sing it.
And pies. And pies. Remember and jive? Never mind. He's not going with me. He's not going with me on that one. I thought that was
I
funny.
think it's something that happened in France a long, long time ago.
A long, long time ago.
I can still remember when.
And pies.
No, the music died. Bye, bye.
I just want some hand pies.
Welcome back. Here we are. That was an inspiring segment. I thought the
That
last
was
couple of segments. It's
Just super
thinking,
inspiring.
just makes you think a little bit. So,
Yeah.
and I love the idea that that you can, when you go to a restaurant, especially a small little restaurant, I don't care if ethnic or otherwise, and recognize some of the story behind why that restaurant's there is really kind of fun. You know, everyone has a story, and it's not just about how you cook a steak.
And I think that's the explanation of community. I think people really, really woke up and realized how much we need those restaurants. When COVID came around and all those restaurants closed down, people were crying. They were like, "Oh my God, what's going on? We don't have a community anymore. We need to get that back."
All right, let's jump right into hand pies. You were just singing a song which I never heard before, and you suggested through your energy that I should know this song.
I was saying hand pie instead of hand jive. Everybody knows that song.
No, I don't know that song.
Oh my God.
No, it was in the summer of '72 in Nantes,
We-
France.
Exactly. Famous.
Speaking
famous.
of summer, it's time to snack on hand pies. And Pamela, you have a favorite bakery I know you walk to from your house,
I do.
and it's at 85th and
Third.
3rd up there in Crown Hill neighborhood, Loyal Heights,
Greenwood.
Greenwood. No,
It's over by the Fred Meyer on 85th.
Oh,
Reserve
there.
and Gather. I'm just going to say,
no. Wait a second. That is not Greenwood.
No.
on with the ham pies.
Okay.
They make the best in the city.
Did
And
they take the recipe out of my book?
we're going to for our class.
Oh,
We're going to
okay.
do your carrot filling. But
And then you can compare and tell me.
But this place, it's the most unusual coffee shop. There are more should do this. They have a whole team of bakers there. You know how many shops you go to, they're just pulling frozen baked
Right.
goods out of the freezer and thawing them. This has a staff of incredibly talented bakers. Every Sunday I have the buckwheat fig bar, but they do savory hand pies now with an impeccable flaky crust, little flake salt on top. Yesterday brought in for the team their asparagus, and then also they do a sausage one. So it changes seasonally, but I think it's such a perfect summer food because it's just this great size to
Bite.
snack on.
Yeah, snack.
And it has a long history, you know, hand pies in England or in Australia, these meat pies that they would take out on a tractor, you know, when they're out doing the fields, they can pack them and have them for lunch later. You know, there's a long history of
That style
Of that kind of thing,
food,
yeah.
yeah.
but it's also, you know, the history over there when I have them in England, it's a very much lard history and a very heavy. And the ones that we made, when I first made hand pies, it was a business idea that I had for Starbucks. I don't know if you remember
That's
that. You were our
right.
CEO at the time,
I
and
forgot about that.
yeah, and I was thinking I made these savory ones that I thought with a whole wheat crust that Starbucks could put in their case and have a delicious, fresh, organic hand pie. They never sold. They're a little too big for us, apparently. Who knew?
Who's too big for you?
Starbucks might be a little
Oh,
bit.
no.
They might be a little too big. Because, when they were looking at our croissants, I said, "Well, how many do you need to make?" Well, on the West Coast, we go through 2 million a day.
Only macro.
Oh boy, I'll start rolling out the dough.
Anyway, it just never went anywhere. But I did put the recipe in our book, the Dahlia Bakery book.
So I would think that hand pie to me, because the filling, obviously, the filling is a very important thing, obviously. But to me, I think it's all about the dough.
Yes.
The pastry you're going to have is so important because it can be from sticking to the roof of your mouth to extremely dry and no buttery flavor, no fat flavor. To me, that you go through the whole spectrum of that. When you get the perfect dough, I think the rest is just cakewalk.
The dough's the critical function.
Because in a hand pie, you don't want it to be super greasy.
no,
No, you want it to feel clean, I think.
but
Well,
can
you want it to
get
feel
that?
clean, but you want to, when you're eating it, you still want a little bit of that fat in the back.
Yeah, you want
So-
to taste it.
Right.
Yeah. Just like on a good croissant, you
Right.
you want it to be nice and buttery, but you don't want it to be greasy.
Right, exactly.
So there's a little fine line, in my opinion. Part of the way, in my mind, that you get there is with the egg wash that you put on the hand pie
Correct. That
before you
seals
bake
it,
it, and it kind of seals it in a little bit.
and makes that nice little crust too.
Because you have to put slits in it, right, when you're baking them, because you want the
Steam.
steam to release. But I love them, and I think they're a great lunchbox thing. Pop-Tarts, right, are the classic Kellogg's hand pie when you think about it. That's what it is.
I don't think about it. Never had it.
You never had a Pop-Tart?
No.
Chef, you enrage me.
Why?
Well, just because I want
I've
you to
had
have
your
all
pie.
of life's experiences.
I've had your pies. I don't need to go into Pop Tart. What do I need that for?
We did a tasting panel last summer with the natural one versus the
Yeah.
pop,
So you have had
and
them.
you weren't a fan.
No.
They were dead.
Well, I've never went to a store, bought it, and eat it. No,
Oh.
never.
Okay.
That wouldn't even cross my mind.
So, are we landing squarely with pie crust as opposed to puff as a crust?
For me, yes. I like the
because
pie
that's
crust.
a quick, easy, also satisfyingly flaky.
Yeah.
If you use puff pastry in an emergency,
Mhm.
you didn't have time to do the pie crust.
The problem with puff pastry is it doesn't do well as a stuffer. To keep it as a stuffer and then bake it depends on what you put in it. But most of the moist stuff is going to ruin the first layers of the puff pastry inside.
So that's
So-
why places like Le Panier in the market, they use the puff paste as a cup,
Correct.
and they put their broccoli filling in
Correct.
or their spinach filling in.
That is a beautiful
And
treat.
because you
Yeah.
can't seal the edges of puff paste. That's the problem, right? Because you want the edges to rise. So it is almost a half inch, and that's where you get your 1,000 layers of.
Just like you don't want to
Flakiness.
cover your croissant into a box with a lid, you don't want to do that because it's going to humidify the dough and it's going to become mushy instead of staying crispy. It's the same concept. Puff pastry, like Tom was saying, is layers. So if you put humidity in there, it just dies on its own. So
There are areas like over in Alsace or places like that where you get puff as a pizza base, and I have never been able to not have a little bit of the rawness in the center
Correct.
of the classic pissaladiere, right? With the anchovies and olives and a little tomato. It still is beautiful around the edges, but it can also get a little soggy in the center.
correct. But the actual recipe of a pissaladiere or any of this dough is nowadays that people use puff pastry, but it was never originally the puff pastry.
It was always pâte brisée. No,
It was it was a pâte brisée mixed with like a pie dough. It was that kind of dough. It was not ever a puff pastry.
Huh.
It got changed to puff pastry because it's more practical,
I
easier.
did. I changed it to puff pastry. I
Yeah.
made 1 million of them for catering. Yeah,
Because it's easier and more practical and everything. But it's
and you can buy
originally
the puff pastry sheets.
because puff pastry does not do well again as a wrapper. It doesn't do well for that.
So the pie dough recipe that never fails. Where are you going to send us for that?
Well, we could take a picture of the one in the book because it was I did it. The filling was carrots and leeks and goat cheese, right? Savory. I think I did one with chard and feta and olives, if I'm not mistaken, or artichoke. I can't remember all the different centers that I had made for that. But the whole wheat was intended to make it feel a little bit more like a sandwich, a more healthy version than just a sweet pie dough, like we say. So.
No, I mean it's all in. To me, I think it's all in the dough in all of those pockets. Wrap. It's the same thing with the Mexican. What do you call the Mexican?
Empanadas.
Empanadas. It's the same thing. I've had empanadas that were really good, and I've had empanadas that were dry. They were like so like, why are you here? You're ruining my inside. It's like, and it's the same thing. I think the wrapper is very, very important. The dough is important. So, but of course, the filling is also very important. So.
It is, and go crazy. That's what I think on that. Whether it's meat or non-meat, go crazy and make some interesting combinations. Yeah. And then it's all the same crust on the outside. So
correct.
I'm not sure, Pam, to answer your question finally, where to go for the recipe. We could post the one from the Dahlia Bakery book if you want on our website. Or why you're looking at me quizzically?
Oh, just because the working with a pie crust, as we're learning from the chef that's teaching our next hand pie class, demands some patience and keeping the butter cold. So it's not like you can process it all in one sitting and get it done and get the perfect result. You've got to have some planning to let the crust sit, according to Ben Leonard.
I mean, there are different school of thought, because we remember a couple of weeks, who was it that we were talking to, and she was like, don't cool off the butter. And I was like, never even heard of that. So it was in the food processor too. So you just have to look for the recipe.
Or have to come take a class with us.
Yeah, take the class. When is the class? When is the class?
The 23rd.
Of July?
Must be August.
Yeah, it says July here, but that would be today.
That would be today. It must be August.
Next up, food for thought, rub with love, tasty trivia right here on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society show.
Tom, will you pick the winner of the tickets? Dun, 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 dun.
Who wants to go?
I like this. And for $100, who wants to go?
All right, here we go.
I think the selection machine is great.
Oana Shoal.
I will give it to my friends. Lovely. I'm coming to a wedding.
Thank you.
What did you win?
Tickets to the winemaker picnic.
So I have to
Nice.
say that. I think that's why they gave
Yeah.
us tickets.
Yeah, it's in your little notes.
Fun. I'm tempted to fly back.
That's awesome. Bonjour Brigitte.
Bonjour, chef.
Ça va?
Bien. Et tu?
Très très bien. Merci.
That's it. That's all I know.
That's all I know too.
That's all you need to know.
I can understand if you are yelling at me in the kitchen,
I
but
would never yell at
I
you.
can't even say beaucoup. I have to say
World
buckets.
famous Bridget Charters,
Merci,
chef
buckets.
extraordinaire, joining us for trivia.
I don't see the language, Pam.
It's this
No,
one.
it's
The
a-
prize today is a jar of the barbecue and 2 tickets. Please.
to the
And we're back
winemakers-
in the Hot Stove Society kitchen here in downtown Seattle in the beautiful Hotel Andra. Boy, we have a big prize today for our trivia challenge. It's a jar of the smoky barbecue rub and 2 tickets to the 35th annual winemaker picnic on August 12th, donated by the Auction of Washington
Wow.
Wine.
That
That's
is
a-
awesome.
somebody
That
got
is
a big
some
prize today. Just
That's a great prize.
yeah, awesome. Rub with Love Tasty Trivia is brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Blends that I make right out there in Ballard. We make sauces, mustards, spice blends, and yesterday I made 10 pounds of chicken thighs with the new taco spice.
Uh-huh.
Yum.
Really good. As chefs, we're always looking for unique ways to build flavor, and a pantry stocked with spices is a valuable tool. You can find our rubs and sauces all over locally. Bartell's, Met Market, Ralph's Thriftway in Olympia, and Tracy's Roadside Produce in Enumclaw, and of course, around the country or online. So thank you to the Auction of Washington Wines for those 2 tickets. And one of our lucky winners is sitting in the audience here today.
Yay.
Let's play, Pam. How do we play? I forget. I've been gone so long. I
So
forget how to
long.
play.
So long. We're honored today to have Bridget Charters, our chef,
Yay!
competing with Terry and Tom.
And we
each-
know how she competes.
she is.
I'm a
She's tough.
competitor.
She's very competitive.
And each competitor is going to get 5 questions, and there'll be a winner and a loser.
Huh.
Loser.
All right, I'll start.
In fact, there's usually 2 losers and only one.
Yes, correct.
That math is elusive. To
There
me.
is no second
All
place.
right.
I'm ready.
You ready, Terry?
Yep.
Is bergamot the rind of a fruit of a dwarf variety of the Seville orange tree or a dessert pear?
It is definitely not a desert pear. Bergamot is actually from the mint family, I believe. So it's not
No.
citrus for sure.
So
So
that'd
I
be,
It
don't-
is,
so that'd
in
be a
fact,
loss.
both. The rind of the fruit of the dwarf variety and a dessert pear.
It's a desert
It's,
pear.
it's taken on 2 different, the same word means 2 different things in culinary applications. Bridget,
I
you're
have
shaking
never
your
heard
head.
of that.
I haven't heard the
Where,
pear one.
where,
Pear
is,
one.
where's it most used? In Earl Grey tea.
Yes.
Yeah, no, of
Bergamot.
course.
You
But
can
I've
buy them at
never heard of.
Swanson's.
I've never heard of the pear thing. Huh?
Number 2.
That would be a big zero. No?
Is the Persian dish biryani sweet or savory?
Savory.
Can you give us a little description?
No.
Rice. A lot of
Go
rice.
figure it
It's
out.
rice with
No, savory.
garnish.
And when you're at a table of people, you always grab first because there's
Get
only
the goodies.
there's only so much goodies
of
in
the
there.
goodies,
Yeah.
and then so much rice. Number 3, what fish were falling from the sky in San Francisco last week?
Man, I just took the New York Times quiz and I scored 10 out of 11. That was not in it. I have no idea what's fish fell off from the sky.
It was anchovies. The population is booming off the coast. Birds were harvesting them greedily, picked up too many as they were taking them to their chicks, and they were dropping on the houses in San Francisco.
This is actually a
Wow.
real story.
True story.
Wow.
That's
You've got
awesome.
the pictures are incredible.
Wow.
Anchovies on your roof. What is the sauce of the minced vegetable mix? Piccalilli. What is the sauce in that pickle of the minced vegetables? It's called piccalilli. And what is the sauce?
Ask her to spell it.
Yeah, is there like some special spelling or something? Because I'm not sure. I have never heard of it.
You've never had piccalilli?
No.
Bridget, can you help him? Mustard and vinegar. I thought it was right up your alley.
Piccalilli.
Piccalilli.
All right, I think we're
Number
over.
5.
So are we over right now?
Wow. No, I have one so far.
Napoleon III offered a prize in 1860 to
$1 an
anyone,
acre. $1 an hectare for Louisiana. That's what you're looking for.
offered a prize to anyone who could produce a substitute for butter. Why?
Napoleon III offered money to anybody who can replace. I have. What's the reason? They
There
ran
was
out
a
of cows.
terrible cattle
They ran out of
plague
cows. Yeah. Disease.
disease. The cows were dying.
That would be the only thing.
0.5.
Oh,
He got there.
Ouch.
Damn, she's rough
Ouch. I
today.
think we should give him the full point.
Woo! Bridget,
Yes, Pam.
good morning.
Good morning.
What plant does the spice mace come from?
Mace, nutmeg. It's the
Yes.
outside.
Number 2, because chicken don't have teeth, they must grind food in a different way. Whatever they ingest gets softened by gastric juices in the gullet, and then where does it go to get ground up?
The gizzard.
You are spectacular. I had no idea about this process.
Oh, you
and
didn't?
No.
She grew up
Oh,
on a
there's-
chicken farm.
And I grew up on a chicken farm.
You did?
Yeah. There's
Wow.
stones in the gizzard that
Yeah,
turn it
that
into
they-
paste.
Yeah.
Wow.
We give them oyster shells.
Hmm?
Ah. What did Auguste Escoffier invent?
The will.
You can give either a food product or his contribution to
Well,
the
his
kitchen.
he created the cookbook that is the process was back then the process for hotel chefs for uniformity in cooking.
The
the
brigade,
first-
it's called. Yes.
Yeah, the first cookbook and system for cooking.
Yes. Yes. Very important. Do you practice that system?
Some of it, yeah,
Some
of
of
course.
it.
Now
It's
we're
still-
just happy when anyone shows up to work.
Terry did for
Yeah.
sure at the brigade.
Yeah.
Number 4. What are the layers in the delicious Hungarian dobus tort?
Dobus?
Dobos.
I have no idea. Tort dessert?
Mm-hmm. Hungarian.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cream,
Yeah.
cherry, chocolate. No. Okay.
Cream and chocolate. Top
Oh.
with caramel.
Oh,
Very close. 0.5.
Oh, whoa.
I know, Terry. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Some of
Number
these were-
5. What is a chimichanga?
Chimichanga is an American Mexican creation. It's essentially a deep fried burrito.
Exactly. What's her score, chef?
4.5 out of 5.
Nice.
She's
Tom,
only beating me by 4 points. Oh, no. 3 points, sorry.
Mr. Douglas, 5 or 6 generations ago, native people of this region ate a complex diet that changed with the seasons called first foods. These are staples they always relied on. Which one of these foods does not belong in this group? Salmon, nettles, camas bulbs, potatoes, and shellfish.
Potatoes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did you read that excellent series in the Seattle Times? I'm going to send it to you because I
Thank
think
you.
it was while you were gone.
Thank you for that.
What ingredient, number 2, what ingredient is used to enrich the yeasted dough in brioche?
What ingredient to enrich the dough? Egg yolks.
Yes. What is in a foo young sauce?
Well, I happen to have a recipe in my book.
You do?
I love crab cakes.
You missed that one.
Didn't
Yeah.
read that recipe,
Yeah.
Tom. I didn't read
Thank
that
you
one.
so much for that. So there's a difference of what you're saying there, because for me, the sauce on my egg foo young is spicy chili crisp, right? I love a little black bean chili sauce on it. In a Asian restaurant, typical like almond fried chicken or egg foo young, they make a brown sauce made from soy sauce and cornstarch. And
The answer I was looking for was eggs and vegetable as the
no,
primary.
that is the foo young. You asked what the sauce was.
But they, all right. The source was describing the eggs as being the sauce. So I guess that we
Oh.
have different interpretations.
Yeah, I've not seen that. So
Google it.
egg foo young is an egg bound group of vegetables.
I think I'll read your cookbook.
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
I make a crab foo young
Number
in my book.
Number 4. Please describe the dish thermidor.
Thermidor. Is it lobster thermidor? Oh,
Mhm.
so it has it's a lobster that's cut up and broiled, and it has a Mornay style sauce, or like a thickened cream sauce that's poured over top of, put under the broiler to glaze.
Gratiné.
Gratiné.
Glaçage.
I haven't
Gratiné
had
or glaçage?
lobster thermidor in a long
If you put
time.
cheese
wanna
in it,
make
it
it-
becomes gratiné. If you put no cheese in it, it's a
It's
glass.
a glaçage. Ah,
Thank you. Finally, is the Italian dish
And it
zuppa,
always has sherry in it, by the way. That's kind of the
and
main flavor.
my source said always mustard
Mustard in the
Maybe a little
bechamel, yeah.
dry mustard, but yeah.
Yeah. for the seasoning. Is the Italian dish zuppa inglese sweet or savory?
Zuppa inglese is sweet.
It's
Like
very
me.
sweet.
Crème
Thank
anglaise.
you.
God,
Who's the
Italians
winner,
love
Carrie?
5 out of 5. Tom is coming back.
wow.
Woo!
Coming back strong. If you want to be part of our show, you can join our community on YouTube Live every Friday morning at Tom Douglas & Co. or buy a ticket to join us in the studio here at the HotStoveSociety.com. We're live also. You're listening to us on Cairo. The show is produced by Pamela Hinckley, Sean McFadden, and our editor is Sean, don't call me Del Torre. Also, remember, if you miss any episode of Hot Stove Society show on Cairo, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite app.
Thanks for listening and have a fabulous weekend. Thank you, Bridget.
Nice to see you guys.
Bridget,
Likewise.
thanks for almost winning.
Thank you, Bridget.